Welcome to Tales from Tubi.
Hey Tubi friends! Welcome to another episode of Tales from Tubi. For those of you who don't know what Tales from Tubi is, this is where I take my love of horror movies and my love of Tubi, bring them together over here on Old Man Brad. We're in our third week of October, and we're doing the Fiery October of Horror. I'm bringing in a guest every Friday to talk a quote-unquote, we'll put air quotes in the air, a fiery movie. We started out with a movie from the 60s called Pyro, where I talked to my friend Ryan L. Terry. Last week, I talked to my friends, the Cinema Psychos, and we talked about Don't Go in the House from 1979. This week, we're moving on to the 80s, to a movie that, has the air quotes of fire. A film from 1984 called They're Playing with Fire. And I have another great guest in. I've been on his shows quite a few times. This is his first time over here. I want to welcome in Dustin from Flicks and Friends, The Baron's Hideout, all kinds of them. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm here to talk about some fire.
That's why we got to say quotes fire.
Mm-hmm. I picked the good one.
It was very interesting when we jump into talking about this. There are a lot of, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to get too far into it. It's like they put a whole bunch of things in a pot and just started pulling things out. And it was like, let's put this in there. Let's put this in there.
No, this movie definitely reminded me of a specific genre from a different country.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit more about it.
Okay. All right.
Get closer, yeah.
But before we dive into it, if you're in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. The day this episode comes out, you can come out and see Trick or Treat with me at 10 p.m. If you missed it, our screening for November, on November 15th at 10 p.m. is Thanksgiving. What better way to spend your Thanksgiving season than watching a killer turkey? But come out to the Esquire, November 15th, and let's watch a movie together. Let's move into They're Playing with Fire.
If your English professor looked like this, you wouldn't mind staying after school, doing odd jobs, even inviting her to your room. Eric Brown, the star of Private Lessons, is playing with fire when he falls into the hands of Playboy sensation Sybil Danning. But he thinks it's worth it. Wouldn't you?
A buxom college professor seduces her student to make him the fall guy in her husband's inheritance scheme. But genuine romance and a masked killer complicate matters. This is written and directed by Howard Avidis, and it stars Sybil Danning, Eric Brown, Andrew Pine, and many others. Came out in 1984. And Dustin, I brought you in. I'm doing this fiery October of horror. So I picked this one thinking, oh, they're playing with fire. And I kind of read a little bit about the synopsis of it, but there's no fire in this film at all. Aside from Sybil Danning.
Aside from Sybil Danning, but the most fire we see is when a TV kind of explodes.
Yeah. There we go. That's what I'm going to say. There it is.
There's the fire connection, dude. But no. Yeah, because you offered me when you laid out the titles, you're like, this is from this year, this is from this year, this is from this year. I'm not dumb. I'm gonna pick the one from the 80s because I know what I'm gonna get in for, And
this movie is full 80s,
100% 80s, dude. It was definitely a treat.
You just look at the poster. Looking at the poster for it, it looks like it should be some wild comedy in a way, the way that it's got the teacher with her leg up and he's sitting at a desk. You're thinking, okay, this is going to be a 80s comedy.
It's trying to lure the wrong person in is what it's doing.
Yeah. Because then we get this erotic thriller where she's seducing him and they want this plot for an inheritance. But then we're going to throw in a mass killer that is knocking people off. That we'll dig into that in a minute. That kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah. No, when I threw this movie on, man, like the opening credit is Sybil Danning just like laying out on her yacht, just bikini and all. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. I wonder how long it's going to take for her to, get naked.
Not long.
8 minutes in.
8. Okay, you counted. I knew it wasn't long.
8 minutes in. I'm like, well, all right, here we go.
And there's your fire, aside from the TV.
Yeah.
Well, her student is also, I guess, her pool boy too. Like, he works on her boat. He just helps her out.
Yeah, like she kind of preyed upon him. Like she was like,
Yes,
I kind of been watching you, like I know you won't say anything, but here's a job. And then, dude, whoever that blonde girl is in this movie, to him in this movie, the other student.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm like, yo, like, what is it your business what this kid's fucking doing, dude? And yeah, he works at a gas station, but he also, paints her deck in more than one way.
That is very true. And she's a professor at the college. So aside from we see her later at college, all like in her business kind of suit, dressed up, and you're like, well, you don't even recognize her at first.
Not at all. A completely different person.
Yeah, I thought it was a different character.
There's a Monday to Friday, then there's the party time.
Yes, exactly.
But this movie, man, like when I was watching it, it absolutely felt like a Giallo movie. Like there was a lot of stuff that it did that I was like, all right, because it did the black gloves and the shoes and everything. And we didn't get to see the killer towards the very end. That's all I could think of, man, was like the shit. Like, the only thing I was missing was the Italian score. Like if this was scored differently, I would have thought it was a Giallo.
Oh, but it was a full 80s score. When that first score came in,
dude,
I was just laughing. And the song that they're playing with Fire song.
Love, taking me higher, higher, higher. Oh, you're playing with fire.
Oh, and then we get it too. Like when the girl who's like giving this kid a hard time, she goes, "You don't want to get involved with her. You'll be playing with fire."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, dude, get the fuck out of here.
It almost, there was definitely the Giallo influence. You could see it throughout.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of mixed with a made-for-TV movie. I don't know what the budget was or if this was a film that went to TV. I didn't look that up to see, but yeah, it felt like a made-for-TV movie in a lot of aspects as well. It was an odd film. Like, you have the seduction, kind of this serious thriller, and then in some ways it felt like they were trying to be comedic, especially with him and his job and his boss.
I just don't know where they would try to bring in like the breaks and the thrills, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what that is. Like, his boss was that guy to do that, And
yeah.
To be honest, I didn't need it. There was enough pacing. The pacing in this movie was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Up until, but it didn't need the comedy breaks, To me, it instantly, because we get brought into this scheme after Sybil Danning pretty much goes down on this kid. She's like, "Hey, you're gonna fucking do this whether you like it or not."
Basically.
And then she's like, "By the way, we're trying to kill my husband's, or trying to scare away my husband's mother and grandmother," which her husband is another professor at the college. And dude, like, when he's like, "Yeah, so do you think you can trust her?" Because Sybil Danning is naked in this movie as much as she is clothed in this movie.
Correct.
Like, it's an equal 50-50 at this point. And she's like, "Yeah, we can trust this kid. I convinced him."
Convinced him very, very convincingly.
Yeah, I graded his papers and gave him double D's,
Yeah.
Shit like that. And we get the whole plan, the scheme. Like, you just have to go there, you have to scare them. That's it. Don't do anything.
And what I want to know is really, what was this scheme going to do? You're going to scare them and then we're like, "Oh, we're out. This house is yours now."
That's it. Yeah. Shit. God dang it. I got boogied away.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you can have it. We don't need it anymore.
that's one too many break-ins. Lo and behold, she has a fucking rifle, just shooting at this kid. And he's like, "Yeah, you didn't tell me she had a gun, like, at all." And they're like, well, we didn't think she'd use it. I'm like, that would, regardless, I would have liked to have been told if there were firearms in the house.
Yeah.
For that potential, man. But
And then this mass killer shows up while he's in the house. And then they kind of think that he's involved in what happened to them. They just disappear. They don't know about bodies until
the end.
Yeah, later. Much later.
Yeah. Like literally the end. Like that's when they find it. That's what I'm saying. Like it has that feeling to it. Like we don't get a lot of the kills on screen are very quick.
Yes.
But when we get the reveal of the bodies is at the end, and that's very Italian, you know. My only gripe about this movie is it took way too long to get to the body count. Like we had the mother and the grandmother, like that was like the whole plot of the movie at that point.
Yeah.
Was like, you know, why, what, and who, and then Sybil Danning ends up falling in love with this kid. After all this, she goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm gonna fucking leave my husband for you." And then we get the group of friends, and I'm like, the group of friends. It should have been like a knockoff earlier. I feel there should have been something, but anytime I see, because there's the bigger kid that's in the movie, I don't remember his name. He's the kid from Friday the 13th Part 5 that gets chopped in the back of the head with the axe, like Roy's son. The whole point of Friday the 13th. You want a Snickers bar?
Oh, okay,
like that's him. Yeah, dude. Like, because Part 5 is my favorite Friday movie. I don't care. I'll fight anyone. But I wish there was a little bit more body count before.
Same.
And
because if you're gonna mix in a mass killer and kind of turn it into a sort of slasher film, I kind of wanted. I wanted more from that than what we got.
Yeah, and I also feel like because there was that one kill. Yeah, no, because the kid was pissing, and then you have the blonde girl walking around, and she gets cracked in the head with a bat by Santa. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like he's dressed up.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, he's wearing, you know, a fucking Canadian tuxedo with a ski mask. I'm like, I would rather it have been like a character, like that way the reveal would have been a little bit more shocking.
Now, did you figure out who it was? I wrote down on my notes about an hour in that I figured out, and it was, spoiler alert, it's his roommate.
When he was like, yeah, she's coming over, you better leave. And then that's when shit started happening. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was when he kind of confronted him. I think it was around that same point his roommate was confronting him about stuff. And I was like, that's the killer. There's something with that dude.
Yeah, because they tried to play it off as like the gardener, because the gardener was like an illegitimate brother to the mom and stuff like that. But no, they kind of covered it up pretty well. But they made it, they ham-fisted it real quick, and you learned real quick who it was.
Even when I kind of figured it out, there were many pieces. I'm like, well, maybe I could be wrong, but no, I'm probably not. It's got to be him. It's got to be him, because the way they brought him in just every so often, and he was just the way he acted. I was like, you're shady. You're shady.
Yeah, very 80s. You know?
Oh yeah.
Oh, but dude, I loved when the husband came, like when Sybil Danning came over to the kid's apartment, like his dorm room. One, those doors are, with them being fucking 15 feet tall and 8 feet wide. That was pretty neat. It looks like a jail cell, to be honest.
Yeah.
But when he bangs on the door, like they're fucking, you know, like they're fucking in the apartment. And the husband bangs on the door. He's like, "Where's she at?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, she's not here." He's like, "What do you mean? Her car's parked out front." Like, "Oh, she just left." He goes, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And he just goes back upstairs, dude. And they fucking book it down the back stairs, and they leave as he's like going back up. But when they're on the boat, like when they make it to the yacht, he goes, "Should we go here? Because do you think he'll check here?" She goes, "No, he would never check here." Next fucking place he goes is the yacht.
Well, of course. Yeah.
And then he's watching them. And as he's watching them, dude, he's like, "Oh!" And I love that he gets stabbed in the back, and then he gets killed. And then there's a part when they think the killer's him still.
Yes.
After he was killed, I'm like, all right, that's pretty neat. You know, like the motif is still there to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, it did a good job at that. It needed to go. I think that's
fire.
where
That's what this movie needed.
Part of the needed fire. I think that's where a lot of the made for TV kind of felt like. I felt like it was trying to pull back. I don't know if, I mean, it could be budget for all I know, but it just kind of felt like it was pulling its punches, not going all in as much as it needed.
I see what you mean about made for TV, dude, but Sybil Danning is so naked in this movie all the time.
Yes, and that's where it's definitely not. Like that opening scene, you're like, this is not made for TV. This is an HBO film if it is.
I would say HBO at night.
Cinemax film.
Yeah. It's like we were talking over on B Action about Assault on Devil's Island, and Shannon Tweed, pulls her boobs out, but that movie was made for TV. And it was just weird. Like, I'm like, that's just odd to think that movies would do, like, they would have the censored and uncensored version made for TV movies.
Yeah.
No, man, like, all in all, like, this movie was a ton of fun.
Did you notice towards the end when Martin, who is the killer, when he was killing, I think it was the older guy, and he took the blade across his neck, and you saw the blood, but then the blade kind of slipped, and then there was nothing?
Yeah. It was too cut. Yeah.
Like, oh, you needed to cut just a smidge sooner.
Yeah, dude. No, but I did like his, because I don't know, did they ever explain why he goo goo gaga'd in this? Like, why he did, like, the baby voice, and was there a problem with him? Like, because I do know they bring up, like, receipts for, like, donating money to a mental institution and all this and that. I wonder if it was for him. I don't think they ever they think they touched on that.
If they did, they didn't really like put it out there. They just kind of floated it. If it so much was
kind of just like putting a small detail in there, just hoping that people don't pick up on that shit.
Be like, well, here's some motivation, some more of his why he's doing what he's doing, and you're just like, but. I
loved it because it felt like an Italian movie. Like, it had that whodunit really well. And I just wish the score was not the 80s score. And I wish it was more of the Italian. I keep leaning on Giallo and shit, but it was an American attempt at a Giallo.
He was a composer for Horror Express, which if you haven't seen that, you should check that one out.
Critics and fans agreed that the film's advertising campaign was misleading, if not outright lying as to what kind of movie it was.
Yes.
Very. I had to make sure, because I looked at your message that said Sybil Danning, because when I pulled it up on Tubi, I was like, this doesn't look like...
Yeah, the poster on Tubi, I think it's just like photos of them, isn't it? It looks like an old...
the black and white photos that the girl's getting, the one that spied on them.
It looks like the old like clamshell VHS tape that you would see where they just slapped a photo on it with the title.
Yeah.
And that's the picture it looks like. It doesn't look like this is going to be an erotic thriller / slasher film. Like nothing in this, any of this marketing, any of the artwork or key art or anything would tell me what kind of movie this is. I'd look at it and go, oh, it's either a comedy or something else.
I feel like one of those, if you picked it up in Blockbuster and like looked at the cover and turned around and read the back, you'd have to keep like turning it back and forth to make sure you're looking at the same fucking movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's very misleading, man.
So overall, out of 5, what would you rate They're Playing with Fire?
I would give this movie 4 minutes of Sybil Danning naked.
4? Oh, okay.
4. What about you, Brad?
I'm gonna solid 3, just because there was a lot I liked about it, but then there was still enough that it didn't quite put it over the top for me. I would recommend it. I would recommend people to check it out. Don't go by box art cover or anything else, because you're not getting what you're going to see.
And this movie definitely would fit into the Halloween season too. I mean, it is in essence a slasher whodunit. It just takes a while to get to the slasher part of the movie.
Yes.
But once it does happen, I'm like, okay, tight. There are actually kills in this, because I just thought it was going to be just the mom and grandma, but eventually there was other people knocked off. I'm like, all right. Okay. I'm digging that. So it definitely is a good, what would you double feature this with?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I don't think you'd go as far as like putting it with classics like Dress to Kill or anything like that. Maybe some Giallo, but not like a big one. Kind of like a not as known one.
Maybe a Blade in the Dark.
I don't know that one.
That's my favorite one. That's a good one.
Okay, Blade in the Dark. Yeah. I'm writing that on my list.
It's not Argento Italian, but That's a really good one. I would put this like we just did a movie over on the Baron's Hideout called House of Dolls, and it's on Screenbox. I would double feature this with that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, Blade in the Dark rules. It's about a music composer that gets stalked by the Black Glove, garrote wire carrying killer. It's really good.
Well, you have anything else you want to say about their playing with fire?
That there is still no fire in this movie.
There's still no fire.
Nope. But
aside from Sybil Danning's bikini, there is no fire.
Fire in your loins is what it'll do.
Before we head out, I mean, you gave us a couple movies to go check out. I was going to say, give us a movie to go watch, but A Blade in the Dark and, was it House of Dolls?
House of Dolls.
Blade in the Dark is on Tubi. House of Dolls on Screenbox. I don't have any.
I watched a movie called Signal 100.
Signal 100.
It's on Screenbox as well, but it's a J-horror movie. It's in the same vein as Battle Royale.
Ooh.
Oh, it blew me away when I watched it, dude. It was really good.
Okay. Well, there's quite a few things that we can watch. So where can we find all your 300 shows that you're on?
Oh, boy, yeah. I'm on all of them.
You're slowly taking over the podcasting world.
Getting there. Well, I host a show called the Flicks and Friends podcast. We are a variety movie podcast. We're on all podcatchers, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'm also on a show called B Action, where we put the B back in action. And it's all those movies that you walk by in Blockbuster that have the Italian oil painting, and you're like, I want to watch that because the cover looks tight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Brad's been on that. We covered Hell Comes to Frogtown. And then I'm also on the Baron's Hideout podcast, and we're on all socials as well. Same thing. We're also big on YouTube. And over there, we cover strictly horror movies. And Brad is also, by the time this drops, we'll have dropped our episode with Brad with a movie called Candy Corn.
Which is one of my favorites.
1, Candy Corn's fucking gross. 2, Candy Corn, the movie, was pretty fun. So, yeah, those are the 3 shows I'm a part of.
Speaking of the Baron's Hideout, just make sure you subscribe to this show as well, because your co-host, the other Dustin from Baron's Hideout, will be on the show next week as we talk Tobe Hooper's Spontaneous Combustion from 1990.
Well, I hope there's fire in that too.
I hope so. I mean, we've had some fire. This one just had none. I mean, our last week, Don't Go in the House, that's how the killer killed people, is he burned them alive. So there was plenty of fire in that one.
All right, so you just needed a fire break. You just needed fire in the title.
I needed a week off from fire, so we can hopefully get back to it next week. But follow all of Dustin's shows out there. They're all great shows. I've been on all 3 of them.
All 3 of them. Yep.
But I hope you come back soon.
I absolutely would. Whenever you need me to come back, I will. And then I'll become part of the Old Man Brad show.
You will. You'll be next one. I'm a host here now.
I'll have the Infinity Gauntlet eventually.
But I will be back soon with a brand new episode. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.